Hello friends, this is Odds, and this cutie patootie is Orela. She's a new survivor in the PTB for DBD right now. She'll be coming out officially on the game next month early, and we already got to see some of her cosmetics, her very long lore, as well as her perks. And I have to say, her perks are decent, or at least decently designed. This has broken a curse that had been plaguing survivor perks for a while now. For more than a year, if you look at all of the survivor perks that have come out, in at least each chapter, there's at least one perk that is really bad or so niche that you'll never see anyone use it. Meanwhile, this chapter actually has 3 decent perks, all of which are usable, some of which are pretty strong. I'm going to tell you my thoughts about each of them, starting from the weakest and then going to the strongest, as well as some of my concerns and maybe what needs to be changed. The first one is called Rapid Response. Orela is a paramedic, and obviously all of her perks are support related or support theme. This perk is a little bit hard to understand if you read it in the order that it's given, so I'm gonna block a part of it and explain it now. Anytime you gain exhausted, you see the auto of the killer for 2 seconds. Now, this includes when you exhaust yourself and when you are exhausted by the killer via their perks or even their add-ons. And the perk also allows you to exhaust yourself on purpose if you want to trigger the effect of seeing the killer. So basically with this perk, you can go in and out of a locker quickly to see the killer at any time. This exhausts you, which obviously isn't ideal because it doesn't really have a very strong effect. Now, the main way to use this perk is very simple, is to pair it with another exhaustion perk like Sprint Burst. If you have Sprint Burst and Rapid Response, you can literally start running at the start of the game and see the killer's aura, so you can immediately tell if it's a stealth killer, then you won't see them, or if it's a trapper, or if it's a Kaneki, which is probably what you're gonna see right now. That is really good. You can also pair it with Eyes of Belmont if you want the duration to be 4 seconds. And that is honestly quite cute. You could also run Visual if you wanna recover from your exhaustion more often and trigger this effect more frequently. And the best part is that this perk also encourages you to run non-exhaustion builds. You could run Inner Strength or Lucky Star. Both perks work when you go into a locker, or even Flashbang. There are multiple perks that require you to go into a locker, and with this perk you will see where the killer is and get a little bit of value. So if you go with Lucky Star, you can come in and out of a locker, see your teammates, see the gens, and see the killer. That is pretty amazing. For 2 perks, that is a really cute effect. Not a super OP perk by any means, and there's a lot of other perks that let you see the killer, like Alert, Object, etc. But it is a really cute perk, has a lot of synergies, and I personally think the design is awesome. It also has a ambulance in it, which I think is a little funny. They could probably even buff this perk a little bit, and it probably wouldn't be problematic at all. I really like the design of this perk. Now, next up, we have Do No Harm. This is a perk that makes you heal roughly as fast as Botany Knowledge. It's a 50% faster increase when you heal someone that has been hooked 1 time. The skill checks also gain a little bit more progress than normal. They gain double. Normally, when you hit a great skill check, it's 3%. And now with this, it will be an additional 3. So it's 3, 6. It's double. This is nice. Great skill checks now allow you to quickly, since you get instant 6%, that makes it faster to heal through things like Sloppy Butcher, so that's great. And overall, this is very similar to Botany Knowledge, but there's a catch. Every time a survivor is hooked, that you are healing them faster. Now, here's where I begin to get some concerns. If a killer decides to tunnel one person and tunnel them very aggressively, and you never ever have a chance to heal them, this perk does nothing. If a killer decides to slug everyone and never go for a hook, this perk does nothing. If a killer is playing Sadako and she tries to condemn everyone and she doesn't really hook anyone, this perk does nothing. So this perk is a little risky and a little bit situational, but let's also think about the situations where it's really good. In a situation where the killer has hooked everyone a few times, you will have a very consistent healing speed that does not run on a timer and allows you to heal yourself multiple times and reset your teammate really good, and it should be pretty good in endgame as well. So for example, the first thought that you're gonna have is to maybe run it with Will Make It. You unhook someone and now you heal them at 150% faster speed. Not bad, but keep in mind that when your speed goes higher and higher above 100, the diminishing returns kick in, and it also caps at 200. So it doesn't get any faster than that. I think a really good idea would be to run aftercare so that when you unhook someone, they see your aura. If they're not in trouble, they can come and get a heal from you. And when you heal them, they also get to see your aura and you see theirs. So you have a great way to reconnect and render view somewhere else to heal multiple times. I think the best part about this perk is the ability to, in a prolonged match, take a hit for someone, come, get healed, maybe the killer hits you and goes back to the gen, get another heal. The ability to have a permanent heal upgrade on other people is quite nice. And if someone's dead on hook, being able to heal them at twice the speed is really, really nice. And it also works when they're on the ground, which I think is pretty awesome. So if someone's on the ground, they can be under a pallet, they can recover, you go, you pick them up. It's almost like you had We're Gonna Live Forever if they are dead on hook. So that's pretty good. You could also go in with perks like Solidarity so that you heal someone else and you heal yourself. Again, the idea of resetting many times in long games makes this perk pretty great. But now we get to the perk that no doubt is going to generate the most conversation. It's Duty of Care. This is a haste perk that doesn't cause exhaustion and doesn't require you to not be exhausted in any way. Whenever you take a protection hit, the person that you're protecting against and anyone else in the vicinity are going to benefit from this perk. Now, a protection hit is when someone is injured and you go there and they're in chase and they're injured and you take a hit for them while you yourself are healthy. This perk requires you to be healthy, and that is a really good thing about its design. If this perk worked when injured, it could be really annoying with things like Off the Record, right? But it requires you to be healthy. So you go and you take a protection hit, and this perk activates, and it makes the person around you, anyone around you, move very fast. The description of the perk is unfortunately wrong. It's not 25% haste for 15 seconds. That would be insane. It's for 6 seconds. So if you think about it, 25 for 6 seconds is very similar to 50 for 3 seconds. So this perk essentially gives every survivor around you a sprint burst when you take a protection hit. This is an amazing effect. It is really impactful. Getting the protection hits can sometimes be a little difficult, but if you manage to do it, you will make so much distance. I'm going to show you in the background right now some recordings of me being in one exit gate, someone taking a protection hit from me, giving me the effect of this perk, and now I can suddenly make it all the way across the map to the other exit gate. I tried this multiple times and it is really nasty. I even went on one of the maps that has the largest distance between exit gates and I almost still made it the entire way across. So this perk gives a massive boost. The best way I can describe it is that it feels like if you hit a survivor that has a teammate that has this perk, it's almost like you're hitting both survivors at once. It feels exactly the same as if you hit one survivor and the other injured survivor next to them is getting the same speed boost. They move at the same speed as if you hit them both. So this is a really insane perk, not just for endgame, but also for normal gameplay. If your teammate is in trouble, you can go and take a hit, and especially against the slower killers, you're gonna buy them a lot of distance. Now, I have to say, we found out during the PTB that this perk is a little bugged, and it doesn't work on certain killers' M2 attacks. Even though the game says protection hit, it doesn't work. I expect this to be fixed. The other perk, by the way, Do No Harm, also doesn't work very well when survivors steal each other's hook stages with the perk Shoulder the Burden from Tari. So I expect some of these bugs will probably be fixed by the time they come out. So let's assume that they work fine. Let's assume that this gets fixed. This perk will be very strong. But here's the problem. Here is the problem. Perks that give survivors this sort of movement speed are a bit of a problem. They hit killers very differently. Some killers get absolutely destroyed by this perk. I played a little bit of Wraith, and it was so hard to get to the survivor that I wanted to. I felt like I was about to down someone, and it went minutes and minutes. If their teammates take hits, they make so much distance. It's actually really hard to seal the deal. Now, on an optimistic scenario, you could be like, hey, this is great. It's to prevent tunneling. Yeah, but this can happen even when you're not tunneling. If survivors can heal themselves quickly, this perk is really scary. It does reward the killer for getting everyone injured, which I guess is positive, but it also encourages survivors to run syringes and other things to get themselves healthy so that they can use this again. And needless to say, this is not a perk that you're going to see solo players use. This is a perk that is much easier to use when you play on Survivor Friends. So yet again, we have a perk that works best on Survivor Friends, and you're probably not going to expect any solo player to use competently. Now, other problems with this perk that I think should be addressed. Some killers give protection hits without injuring you. For example, Pinhead and Deathslinger, if they hit you with their chain or they hit you with their shot, even if you don't take damage, that counts as a protection hit. So as a Pyramid Head, as Pinhead, if you hit a guy with your chain, that will give someone else a speed boost. And then if you hit them with an M1, that also gives them a speed boost. You might have noticed that this perk has no cooldown. This perk has no cooldown. So a survivor can get a speed boost from this and then take another hit and get another. And if that happens, it feels really, really bad. And here's the worst part. You might be like, well, this sounds like a really strong perk. This perk is not strong against the strongest killers in the game. The strongest killers in the game, such as Blight, such as Kaneki, who's very popular right now, such as Nurse, such as Hillbilly, such as Dracula. These killers, it's almost impossible to take protection hits against. It's really difficult to take a protection hit against Nurse because she teleports in front of you. It's really hard to take a protection hit against Billy because he insta-downs. If you're not injured, there's no such thing as protection hits, right? Dracula and Pyramid Head, they literally cannot get protection hits with their power because their power hits through survivors. Even if you stand in front of it and tank the damage, you will not get protection hit. So this perk literally does not work against Dracula. And if he M1s, he can also turn into a bat and be fast anyway. So this is a perk that hurts Pinhead, it hurts Deathslinger, and it hurts the slower killers in the cast, such as Myers, such as Trapper, such as Clown. These are already some of the killers. Ghostface, if you don't get an insta-down. These are already some of the killers that are weaker. And I feel like this perk is going to absolutely feel much, much worse on that, and sometimes feel like a complete nothing to some of the stronger killers. So, my prediction, because this perk is hard for solo players to use, and it doesn't really do that much against some of the stronger killers that are already very popular, like Kaneki, Blight, I don't think this perk will be super, super popular. You're only going to see parties probably use it, but you probably will have a few experiences where it is very, very annoying. But yeah, when it comes to the issue of tunneling, I still think that this game has no real incentive to discourage killers from just tunneling the same survivor over and over. Right now, if you can get away with it, the best strategy is always to hook a survivor, hook the same survivor, kill him, and now the 3v1 gets much, much easier no matter what. And I think that's a problem. I did make a video explaining a way that the developers could address this. And what I explained in that video was a mechanic that the developers kinda sorta introduced into the game in form of one perk. But here's the problem, because it is a perk that requires coordination and you don't know your teammates' perks, this is the kind of perk that only survivor friends use. And this perk, Shoulder the Burden, is something that is gonna be exactly the same as Duty of Care. It's gonna be very strong in the hands of people that are already very, very well prepared, and you're not going to see it very much because most survivors are not coordinated enough. So yeah, overall, great perks, overall, great design, but it's probably about time we tune down the S tier killers. And by the way, that might include Kaneki, who's already getting some nerfs in this patch. I'll maybe make a video follow-up talking about them. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.